Hello, I'm Jed Brewer, CEO of Study Groups. It's terrific to have you on the call today. We are going to be talking about from the gas pump to the food counter. How do we get more people inside our stores? How do we ultimately get more customers to our site and drive sales and revenue from there? Really excited to have Paragon Solutions as well as Tote AI, two great firms out there in the industry who will be sharing from their expertise today. At SG Voices, we are your go-to resource for connecting with industry leaders like these individuals that are out there, being able to access trusted educational content and delivering valuable insights to you as you shape the way that you're driving your business forward. It's an honor to be able to participate with you in this educational environment. Our mission is ultimately to empower you with that relevant and actionable knowledge so you can best face those challenges and opportunities that are out there today. This webinar will be recorded. We're going to send the slide decks and the recording out to you after, so you can view it again or share with a colleague. That will follow up later today after this is done. And then on our topic, I just wanted to introduce from a high level our esteemed guests that we have here today. One is Paragon Solutions. So we'll have Austin Burns, who's the president and CEO of Paragon Solutions, John McCauley, who's the director of brand design, and Davis McCauley, who's the lead brand designer. A little bit about Paragon, but they work with a number of our study group members and other people out in the industry to help with branding, to help with marketing, to help with store design, layout, and flow, and do a really fantastic job assisting our study group members, have helped our members win a number of industry awards out there and deliver great educational content, which is what the purpose of today's call is. So I'm excited to have Paragon join us today. And then we have Shyam Rao, who's with Tote AI, which is a newer in terms of Tote to our industry, but really excited to have Shyam. Shyam is the founder and CEO of Tote. He built the first AI native point of sale for fuel and convenience retail. He was a previous co-founder, if you recognize his name, but of Punch, which was an AI-powered customer engagement platform. Many of your firms have used Punch before. Still exists out there today, but he's now the founder of Tote AI. So excited to have Shyam, and he'll be talking more. I'll share more a little bit later about him. But first, with Paragon Solutions, as we dive in, so really what they're going to be talking about is, all right, how do we build food brands that customers actually want, and kind of motivating with this point that your superpower isn't scale. It's not necessarily how big you are, but it's your knowledge. So they're going to share with us a little bit about why market positioning is key to food service success, help us find these winning strategies for utilizing national brands. How do we turn our brand into a food and beverage destination that people really want to come to? And how do we create an offering that outshines our competitors that are out there? We want to be able to differentiate ourselves in that space. So Davis McCauley, I'm going to turn it over to you, the lead brand designer for Paragon, and tell us more from your point of view. Ultimately, how can we get more customers in our door and best utilize our superpower?
Yeah, awesome, Jed. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank everyone for your time today. And we'll just go ahead and hop into it. So our presentation, as Jed introduced, is all about if you're a small and medium-sized retailer, you may not have the scale, but you can really make your brand into a superpower. So we're going to go into how to go about that. So first of all, sort of high level of what we're going to look at our kind of industry perspective on the shift from a fuel-centric brand to a food-first brand, and the importance of branding and food and beverage success, as well as getting into those, as we kind of hinted, those unique advantages and superpowers that you can leverage. What most people do wrong when it comes to food and beverage, and some of those winning strategies that we like to employ, and how our clients implemented those to find success in food and beverage. So go ahead and hop into it. So on the first point, looking at why the industry has shifted, or what the importance is, we really see food and beverage in terms of in-store sales, growing very fast, a lot of very high margin categories under food and beverage. Fuel, sometimes could be profitable, at other times it's not, and we never recommend removing fuel, but it's more about just putting food first, as far as future proofing your brand and really embracing that as a strategy going forward. We think that's the most successful way for the future of your brand. And two factors that lead to that is, as competition increases and things shift to food and beverage, brand only becomes more valuable, right? Because you're not just looking at the number on the price sign, you're looking at that brand, that experience, that image that people trust for a food destination. So that's why we've seen this shift and why we think this way. So, long story short, food and beverage is no longer the sidekick; it's now the hero of the business. So, you probably already know that, or you introduced the idea that food and beverage are important. But how do you compete? How does your brand compete in this marketplace? So you got to use your superpowers, of course, right? So what do we mean by the superpowers? It's, again, for small and medium retailers, we see them as having these unique advantages in the space, and we really push our clients to leverage those. So first of all, as Jed kind of hit it out, was knowledge. The big players have scale, they have that reach, but you have that more proximate access to your clientele, to your business. You or your employees are the boots on the ground, so to speak, every day. You're in the community, and you can really know things more immediately and have a better grasp of that than the big players. And you want to use that to your advantage. That can include specifics in terms of workday habits, cultural preferences, all those sort of factors. The next power looking at is speed. Some of these national brands, if you've ever worked with them, they could be very, it could be like trying to turn the Titanic, right? It's a slow process. They have a lot of middle management, bureaucracy, red tape to get through. But smaller players, if you have one decision maker or just a handful of decision makers, you can really move fast and experiment quickly to get results more immediately to empower your business. So really important that you utilize that advantage. The other part of this is being able to focus your appeal. So national brands, they're trying to appeal to the whole country, or they're trying to be all things to everybody. But really, what we preach is differentiation and trying to target your audience rather than be everything to everybody. So that's really important. The next one, and the most important one in my opinion, is heart. So this is all about authenticity. Again, really pushing local ownership, or local locations being in your community, having that identity, and that you can see how that can lead to loyalty, because especially in the food and beverage category, those decisions are oftentimes emotionally driven, habitually driven. It becomes part of people's lives, and especially for millennials and Gen Z, they're looking for brands that they're not just identifying with your brand identity, but they want the brand to become part of their identity. They want to identify themselves based on the brands that they like, and whether it's the merchandise or the packaging that they're carrying around, that becomes part of their identity. So that's super important, and it's all driven by authenticity. All right, so you've got knowledge, speed, heart. By these powers combined, you get your superpowered brand. That's right. So you can, that's how you win at food and beverage, right? But this is, it's a little bit high level. What does this actually look like when, and what strategies are you supposed to use to get there, right? So we can kind of go back and dive into a little bit more of the specifics and look at some case studies. So that's what we're saying. Yeah, so you know what they are, but how do you use them? So first off, looking at what most people get wrong. They're not either committing to it in terms of operation, or they're looking at things in too short term of a timeline. It's not a quick scheme, or they're letting vendors come in and be in the driver's seat, right? You got to stay in the driver's seat when it comes to food and beverage, and really put your brand first. The other thing is, that we'll get into with some kind of Paragon specialty is that food forward experience. So either their brand image isn't right, their store aesthetics are not conducive to a food destination, or their layout is hampering them in some way. So in light of what most people do wrong, let's look at the right way to do things, the right strategies to employ. So first of all, going back to that customer experience, these are some of the principles that we talk about. It kind of becomes table stakes for if you're going to compete, you have to put customer experience first. Well, we like to say that the exterior earns the interior. It goes from the road, them seeing your site, to the site, to the store, to making that purchase. So it all is dominoes falling to make that happen. So look at really look at your locations, look at your store design. Is it all pointing in the same direction? And that goes from from the site, the layout, the finishes, to those brand touch points. And really the big picture is, are you feeling like a gas station that has food, or a food destination that also happens to have fuel as an offering? And really, what are you putting first? So let's look at someone who's doing that right. One of our clients is Fireside Market, and you're seeing here different images of the interior, but also the exterior, because we see this as part of that food experience. Not only the aesthetics of the site looking like somewhere you'd want to stop and grab a bite to eat, but they're also bringing out the promotional signage, putting the food brand out there, and the food and beverage become part of the whole experience. So their brand identity is tied into their cultural heritage. This is the tribe. It's the Keepers of the Flame, so that ties into the Fireside name and the Fireside meaning, but it also creates that warm community, inviting feeling that they are going for. They have a indoor-outdoor fireplace for customers to gather while you enjoy the food and beverage offering, and the Fireside name really lends itself to coffee and hot food offering. So it's all pointing the same direction. And really looking at elevating all of those touch points so that you are earning that food purchase. All right. Next thing to kind of approach diving a little bit deeper is specifically on that identity. So is your identity something that aligns with the food first approach, and how do you remedy that? So it could be something as simple as taking your current brand equity, but pivoting that into a food first, modification. You can, add descriptors, kitchen, eateries, some examples, change the imagery to be more food focused, or it may push you to change your name or change your visuals to align with the food first approach. The other option is, keeping your parent brand in place, but creating a sub brand for your food offering or beverage offering that could really meet the need that you have, the branding need that you have there, or to highlight a specific hero category that you want to highlight. So a great example of that one of our clients is Freshies. So I really love Freshies because the Freshies name started as their food offering, and they said, you know what, we're going to make a food first commitment as a brand, food and beverage first commitment, and that's going to become the parent brand for the whole store, and all their locations are under this Freshies name, right? So they're really putting fresh food as their brand promise, as they're planting that flag. So it's a total buy-in, total focus on fresh food identity.
This is
yeah.
the store, by the way. This is their 2.0 that we just opened up a couple weeks ago, so we're excited about it.
Yes, really excited about how this turned out. This is the brand new space. So this is kind of seeing the before and after. Even looking at, for example, with the roller grill, something that's kind of oftentimes not elevated in the space, but taking that same product and oftentimes the same equipment, but recontextualizing it, giving it its own space, giving it that identity with the signage, with the different applications, and really they're just getting getting more credit for the work they were already doing with the product, and elevating it and adding value to it. So it not only adds value to the product, but it adds value to the Freshies brand to integrate it in this way. Same thing with pizza. Still you had some price stickers and different pieces on this merchandiser, but elevating it to this built-in, offering the whole pies, being a operational kind of differentiation, or something that they differentiate themselves on, the offering the whole pizzas, and this whole kitchen experience and visual. It's just totally aligned with that food first identity. And
they brought their mascot out. Yeah, real quick on this is these are both two categories they already had. So they just elevated both of these categories by creating a unique identity for them, particularly with the roller grill. So instead of Johnsonville, this is now a Freshie branded experience, and it's got its space and it's got more personality and more uniqueness. The other thing is with the pizzas, this is something they're already selling it by the slice on their grab and go, but whole pizzas on a grab and go just expanded that category and created a new revenue stream for them. So it's again, but it's not just putting it out there, it's putting it out there in a way that's appealing, that's on brand, that is connected to their kitchen. This says this is going to be a fresh pizza, right? And so it's, obviously got to happen on the presentation, the brand, but also on operations to make sure that they deliver consistently with that product.
Davis, I'm curious, so if I'm just getting started into food service, and you said one of my superpowers is the knowledge of my local market, and I want to get in, but like, how do I make that first step? Like, do I do pizza? Do I do fried chicken? Like, how do I get from where I am today to picking a direction and going with it?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and that's where we often work with. You could look at IMST study to get demographics, find out about your competition, or employ focused research, like really firms that are dedicated to talking to your customers, talking to talking to people in your community to figure out what they're wanting. And we also work with food and menu design specialists that can kind of help put that data into action. So we're, like you said, we're more focused on the brand and design side, but we work with a lot of those people that we would be happy to connect people with to see that process, like you said, from start to realizing something like this. It's a lot of disciplines at play, but yeah, that's a great question.
Mm-hmm. And Frankie said, "Hey, pizza, this is the way that we can go." And you mentioned John, selling the whole pie is really giving them a lift right now in their market.
Yeah, and obviously you got to look at your operations and what can you do? What can you do? Yeah. What's the site? What's the store? What are the possibilities? But it's never a one size fits all. It's always really looking at all of those things together, and then deciding what makes sense. Sometimes it's where can I enter, right? So maybe it's if you have a good breakfast day part, that's a good entry point for getting into food, proprietary or made on site. So a lot of ways to do it, a lot of ways to approach it. Baby steps if you're just getting started, and then build on it.
Mm-hmm. And that ties back into the superpower of having that nimbleness, that flexibility that a national chain may not have to be able to customize.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say, is that you could just iterate quickly, try things and see what works also. And but yeah, it's totally to that point of what does your square footage allow, what does your operation allow, and what can you win at. And that's what we really work with our clients to figure out what can they execute at a high level. But it all points, so making sure it all points in the same direction and is adding value to your brand.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point, Davis, not to get you too off rail of where you're going with the talk, but many of us have chains that have different square footages. Some have kitchens, some don't. I've grown through acquisition in times. How do I develop a program when I have uniqueness across my chain?
Yeah, it's a great point. It's kind of looking at, I guess the way we break it down is kind of like, a good, better, best, an ideal amount of programs that you would have in your ideal prototype location, and then we look at that that catalog of programs that you're doing and see, okay, what what's a must keep, or what can work in a different location as we're doing a remodel or a different acquisition, like you said. Yeah, it's just really taking that approach of what can win in that demographic if it's a different community that we were putting that new store into. So yeah, it's hard to say. It's not a one size fits all, but we take that approach of looking at that catalog of programs and seeing what we could fit, what has to be, what can't be cut, and what we want to keep. What is your hero? What's your star performer? And making sure that we can fit that in. So it's really a strategic approach with each square footage, But you can create that ABC of when you're rolling out a brand like that, and see if that square footage will match the level of programs you want to include in that space.
Thanks for elaborating on that.
Yeah. All right. So going through going back to the strategy side of it, and getting back into these case studies. So overall, it's a lot of what we were just touching on, but the kind of advantages of proprietary, the advantages of putting your name on something. There's iconic examples in the industry. You could really have your brand associated with that product, and that can be a value. It's a value lift for that product, but it's a value lift for your brand as well. But the biggest point here is, if you're not putting your name on it, you're not getting credit for your work, the work that you put into the product, into the operation, and you're not growing your brand's value. If you're keeping it under that the Johnsonville brand, you're losing some equity, you're losing some value. Whereas if you're reinforcing it, then it not only empowers the product, but it empowers your brand and grows the value. So the other kind of getting into the operational side, it doesn't have to be something that you're coming up with, or you don't have to hire a team of chefs or food and beverage specialists. It could be like a white label product, like the Johnsonville example, where you're taking that product and just changing the messaging and the imaging around it, and still elevating that way, even if it's the same product. And that other point of it's a long-term operational commitment, and that's when we design our stores, we keep that in mind to really set people up for success. So a great example of proprietary success is with Leo's, client we worked with, and they really double down on this endorsed kind of structure, where we have the Leo's Market, and then they tie in that with the Leo's Eatery that has a really prominent place in the store with this really beautiful presentation with the glass and the bakery merchandisers, as well as their Leo's Oasis on the beverage side and the coffee side. So they've really looked at what categories or which specific dishes they can win at, and it's looking at these power bowls and these kolaches really become signature for them. And you can see that they're not only promote it visually with the cases and the equipment, but also the menu boards, and every brand touch point is considered, and it really creates that elevated experience that's food first. All right, the other important strategy, the whole point of branding is to be different, to stand out, to be unique and identifiable. So that should also tie into what you're doing in food and beverage to try to get attention. It could be a myriad of different things that will help you stand out. The example we want to look at for this one is Rusty Lantern, and they really lean into that bullet point of the local sourcing. So their big differentiation is because anyone could buy like the same equipment or the same or have a barista. A lot of those things are becoming more common. But their commitment is these locally sourced beans from Coffee by Design, that anywhere you get a cup of coffee in any Rusty Lantern location, it's all from this high quality product. But not only do they do that on the operations side, but they communicate it. So this is in their latest generation as well. Go back. You can see that we've promoted that messaging not only of the local coffee brand that they they work with, but also telling the story for the client so that they're getting credit for that work that they're doing in terms of the operational side of sourcing that product and committing to that that higher quality bean. And that ties into the need for the sub brand of beans, because the focus is on the coffee beans and making that cup of coffee the best it can be. So a lot of different ways to stand out.
Yes, one comment, when you're looking at, bean to cup is table stakes now, right? So that's not a differentiator, but, a lot of operators have it. But the bean itself, the quality of the bean, and so if you're in a market like this is near Portland, Maine, or in Portland, Maine, and this is a local known roaster, so that instantly has credibility and it elevates this category for them. Of course, coffee is a huge thing, right? So they're doing barista in a lot of their stores, but they're also doing self-serve bean to cup. In the stores, to your point, Jed, earlier, is what do you do when you have a store that you can't put a barista in? You don't have the square footage. Well, they're doing the espresso machines that are bean to cup, that are self-serve. So you can still get your cappuccino or latte with that premium bean at any Rusty Lantern Market location, right? So they're delivering on that quality product, quality promise, regardless of what store you're at. So it's a consistent thing across the portfolio. And that's how you build equity. That's how you build trust. That's how you build loyalty, is consistency. This is who we are. This is what we're about. No matter what store you step in, you're going to get that product.
Yes, definitely, and making sure that you tell that story with we have like the static messaging here, but another thing we developed with them is on these bean to cup machines you're seeing in the bottom, video content that also tells the story of the product, and making sure that not only you're doing the work, but you're communicating it so that you're getting the credit and building that trust, building that equity.
And they got when we did the rebrand on that and brought the branding and the messaging in, 77% increase in coffee sales. Huge lift based on just the refreshing of that one category.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, and then the last strategy we look at is that we often run into and can be a great strategic move is, you're saying, well, I'm not going to be fully proprietary. I already have this other QSR in my store, whether it's Crispy Crunchy or whatever brand you paired up with. It can still work, and you can still have a place for proprietary branding. So the Anchor the Anchor brand has certain advantages. They can drive traffic. The people see on your sign outside, brings people into the store, makes you really build your credibility. But your proprietary brand can really be a strategic move to fill in those gaps where your QSR is lacking. And that's where the strategy side of it comes in. So you want to build around them, but not against them. And a great example of that is a brand we work with called Onvo. And they, at a lot of the locations, have partnered with Burger King. And the key to this is that they're still keeping their Onvo brand in the driver's seat. The Burger King is part of the Onvo brand, but it's not dominating. The space is integrated in a really intuitive way, and they we worked with them to develop their food on the fly QSR, which is fulfilling those strategic gaps that Burger King is lacking. So it's a symbiotic relationship, and it's really working well for them. And they have other unique advantages of these that we worked with in their refresh with these bright colors and their mascot that are all again really working for the food and beverage success for them.
I would say that paired with the national brand, oftentimes for highway locations, just that brand recognition can be a big thing to drive traffic to your store for food. So, and also a way to introduce your own brand or to build equity in it, just pairing that up. So,
exactly, yeah, it can be kind of a little bit of a piggyback effect and get people off the road, get people interested in your brand if they've never heard of it before. Using that national brand kind of riding their coattails. All right, so we can go back and look at any of it, but just to wrap up the kind of takeaways, make sure to identify your superpowers, use them. If you're a small to medium retailer, Try to apply a food first mindset to your brand. Really think about yourself as a food destination or what you can do to shift that. And then specific strategies we went into. Think about how you could utilize those, or which ones you're already utilizing, and how you can do it better. So I'll leave you with the last thing I'll leave you with this question is, what are you currently doing, or what could you be doing in your food and beverage offering to stand out? What can be your hero? What can be your differentiator? Maybe it's something that you are already trying to develop, or as we went through this, you're thinking about, hey, I could do that, or I could pull that in, that local product, and really make that my differentiator. So looking forward to y'all's answers on that. And most of all, thank you guys. Most of all, thanks everyone for attending, and thank you, Jed, for guiding us through it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I got your QR code there that you can scan and see more of their projects that they've done at Paragon Solutions. And again, in this big picture context of what we're talking about, how do we move people from the pump to be buyers elsewhere and get them in the store, really emphasized by Paragon in this presentation. Well, if we can develop a really good food brand that can attract people into the store. And it's awesome to think about those superpowers that you talked about, knowledge, speed, and heart, and how we have that unique advantage and how we can differentiate in our market to ultimately succeed in that goal. A second strategy that we're going to talk about here presently, changing gears, is again that big picture. How do we move people from the gas pump to the food counter? Well, AI really feeds into that as well. So how can we use AI to turn fuel customers into store buyers? We have Sham Rao. Sham, are you here to be able to call? There he is. All right, good to see you, Sham.
Yes,
Sham is the CEO and founder of Toad AI, so it's really great to have you on the call, Sham. And as I mentioned before, Sham had originally founded Punch, which is a product that many of our members use. Ultimately sold that in 2021-ish for $500 million. Entrepreneur, now he's with AI changing, has brought Toad AI into the market, and really gives some great advantages to convert that gas pump person ultimately over into inside customer as well. So he's going to just talk a little bit today about where convenience retail loses that sale and how we can close that gap between the pump and store technology, what it looks like when a regional chain modernizes. So one of the first things that operators, managers, and customers can notice, so he'll offer some insight there, and how AI enriches it and interconnects every touch point, so driving traffic in high margin categories like food service. So we were mentioning you develop a great brand, but also how to use technology to further improve your food service offering that you have. So Sham, with that very high level introduction, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk a little bit about from pump to purchase.
Thank you, Jed. Thank you to everyone that's joining, and thank you to my colleagues at Paragon. That was very informative. So I'm excited to chat with all of you today, and thank you again for the platform. And as an industry, I think we've been discussing how to bring people in from the pump to the store for a while now. This is something we've heard universally from every customer and every talk track at every conference. It's about forecourt to the store. Recently, I think it was a year ago, NACS published a report where they discussed something called food leakage, sitting at about 29%. So what that means is a quarter of your customers visit a QSR within 30 minutes of visiting a C-store. So clearly there's an opportunity there, and perhaps the problem really is around discovery and demand. Part of the issue that we see, and this is something we saw while we were building Punch as well, is that the tech in store really doesn't support the way consumers want to interact with the brands in terms of seamlessness, convenience, personalization expectations that they may have from interacting with Amazon or whatever they do at home, online or on their mobile devices. So this gap seems to be widening, particularly because of this disparity between what they do at home and then, you know, in a C-store. The other point I would mention is that the C-store is very complex. It's actually a superset of three things. Obviously, there's fuel and all the things that happen in the forecourt, car washes, etc. There's the retail component, and then there's food. But the consumer has no idea about these complexities. They just expect stuff to work and to work seamlessly and to be unified. And I think the tech challenge is exacerbated in how those are presented to consumers. Just go to the next slide. So, you know, what is this gap actually? How do we bridge this gap? Everyone's talking about AI. You know, AI is it has almost become a sort of buzzword, but there's something real beneath it that needs to be leveraged. And if we aren't, you know, the gap is unfortunately going to widen. So today, what we see, and internally we talk about this is like the old story of the Dutch boy plugging holes in the dam with his fingers, and eventually you're going to run out of fingers and toes. But really, it's an approach to bridge these gaps using siloed point solutions. Punch was an opportunity to do some of this, but you know, we have loyalty apps, we have digital menu boards, kiosks. All of these are siloed and Band-Aid solutions, unfortunately. And you know, what the industry really needs is an underlying real-time, and this is the key point, real-time data layer that AI can then surface and act upon to then unify these experiences across, you know, forecourt and in store. In fact, the opportunity and the timing of why we created Tote is even centered around the fact that with AI, you can now identify and engage consumers before they enter the store. If we think about what happens today in terms of tech interactions, everything that does happen happens at the point of exit. You know, it's when the customer is paying and they're leaving. It's too late to change their behavior at that point. We need to engage them earlier. I mean, at the forecourt in this context, and perhaps even earlier, maybe when they enter into their car. So how do we do that? And I'll give you an example. If most large brands, and if there is an opportunity to leverage what I'm about to describe, even in the mid-market, but most large brands and most folks have payment data. So even for consumers that aren't members of your loyalty program or are anonymous, we may have a sense of who they are using anonymized credit card data. So you may know someone with the name Jed, just to pick an example, has walked into your store, used an Amex, and spent $2,000 over the past year. The question is, and Jed may be anonymous, he may not have joined a structured loyalty program or CRM. The question is, on Jed's next visit, why can't, on his tap or swipe at the pump, why can't we present a very personalized offer based on time of day, basket of goods, you know, location, and past purchase data as well, that is presented at the pump screen. Jed can interact with it through his mobile device, start shopping. You could ask very tailored questions like, and I'll discuss this in detail in a separate slide later on, but tailored questions around items in store, walk in, pick up other items serendipitously, and with a simple tap, merge these carts, pay, and walk out, right? But this requires an underlying infrastructure that needs to be reimagined. And this was fundamentally something we struggled with while we were building Punch, in terms of availability of data and the ability to action on it in real time. And it's partly because of the infrastructure in store. So really, what we're trying to do here is fix some of these underlying issues once and for all, so that not only can we address the present opportunities, but really future-proof you in this world that's coming with AI. Now, every single vendor out there is going to talk about AI. Part of what we've also tried to help the industry think through is how to, not all AI is the same. There are differences, native AI versus a bolt-on strategy. We actually discussed this in an article we published in the March newsletter with study groups, but it's also available on our LinkedIn page. But I'd encourage you to have a look at that. But high level, there are 5 key points you can think about. Is there a live data infrastructure that AI can work off of? How does that actually work? Can it action on it in real time? That's a key point. It's not enough that we are surfacing these opportunities after the consumer's left. We need to be able to do it while they're there standing in front of you. Is the AI localized to that particular location with those circumstances centered around that location? And does the underlying system support modern infrastructure to do all of these things I'm mentioning? And obviously, the most important thing, no one can predict the future. How will this platform keep pace with upcoming changes? And there are so many changes. We are headquartered here in the San Francisco Bay Area. We talk with colleagues in the AI world constantly. I mean, there's so much stuff coming, and the pace has been unprecedented. I haven't seen this level of change, frankly, any time in my career in tech. So the platform
already coming from a fast-paced, evolving structure in the tech world. So that's hearing you say that really adds some credence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's unreal what's happening, and you're going to see a lot of this play out over the coming months. Now, what we think is really important is that we talk about what this AI. Why is that relevant? Why is this a topic of interest to everyone? Well, today, these systems are on demand, right? Stage 1, I mean, not today, honestly, this is almost past. But most vendors are stuck in stage 1, which is an assistant mindset. So these are on-demand agents that can just query and respond. They're almost just fairly dumb. They're intelligent in that you can speak to it in a natural language, but all they're doing is querying and responding. So really on-demand systems. The world we're in today is somewhere between stage 2 and 3, by the way. Frankly, getting to stage 3 more and more. The stage 2 approach is having agents working on top of old systems of record, which frankly are static, nearing dumb. So think about things like CRM, your POS, ERP systems. So these are agents that are sitting on top of systems that used to be systems of record where data is generated. So when credit card information pops up, these agents can take action autonomously, and that's the key point. So they can kind of make decisions and do things in real time. They're not just querying and giving you information, they're actually doing stuff. And I'll describe what that is in a moment in an upcoming slide. But really, where this is all headed is an ecosystem of agents. Now, these are multiple agents optimizing and working together. So a simple example in the context of C-stores is you may have an inventory agent that detects that your demand is going to be really high for a particular item. You're running short in this geography, and it may autonomously make a decision to go out and order supplies through your supply network. But these agents are being built, and they're available in general retail, and we see them coming across to C-stores as well. But another example that I'd like to present is very analogous to the third example I just gave, but it's another flavor of it as it pertains with B2C behavior, which is agentic commerce. So you may have seen in the press, if you track any of this, announcements by firms like Shopify. ChatGPT allows you to now order things through certain vendors and you get it delivered to your house or your home. And these announcements have been largely centered around the e-commerce world, so online commerce. Physical retail hasn't really fully entered this conversation yet. We have a very strong point of view around how this will shake up the existing physical commerce world. But this is a huge opportunity for C-stores to get ahead of this discovery and demand issue that is only going to get worse with agents now in the mix. So we'll talk about this again in the next slide, but the key point here is physical retail hasn't entered this conversation yet, and really where we are focused at Tote is creating the infrastructure to allow for this agentic world, and we're building some of these agents as well to come through and support how you serve your customers. So one example of this is a recent announcement we made with our partner Hux. But essentially, think of this as the gains of all these AI agents that I presented, and I'll give you a real-world example in a moment. In order to leverage those gains, one first needs to upgrade or update the tech stack, and that's exactly what we did with Hux and are in the process of doing. With this modern tech stack and infrastructure, you can tack on AI in intelligent ways, or you can unlock, rather, not tack on, unlock AI to increase sales, to do things around inventory, all the things that really can supercharge how you service your customers and drive sales in store. And early stages at Hux already, they're seeing huge benefits with our associate AI agent that allows for quicker training, on-ramping, and support resolution. But there's so much more you could do once you have the infrastructure laid out. So what is this future state that I've been describing? I'll give you an example, and in fact, there's several of these. But we think there's a very near-term future that is going to play out where every consumer is going to have an agent on their personal device. This could be ChatGPT, it could be Gemini, it could be whatever. Now, these agents are more and more so getting, as I was describing, they're getting smarter, but they also have memory, and they're persistent. So what that means is, as a consumer gets into their vehicle in the morning or their car and is starting their commute journey at 8 a.m., the agent may prompt them to say, hey, should I get you your favorite breakfast order? And by the way, it seems like I could also potentially reserve a pump for you and help you fuel up. And then that agent is communicating with your agent behind the scenes without the consumer even being aware. There could be loyalty information transferred, payment information transferred. The customer, when they actually drive up to your store, all they have to do is fuel up, walk in, grab their stuff, and leave. They don't even take their wallet out. Everything's happening behind the scenes. Now, there are some operational things here that you would decide, of course. There are configuration elements that you would want to design. All of those constraints the tech should enable. But the point really is that in this world, agents are communicating with your agents. And is your tech ready to support that vision and that future, which is coming very, very quickly? But more so, even ignoring that, there's an opportunity to just upgrade our tech stack to service our customers better today with more relevant offers, more real-time support, more enhanced loyalty flows that drive revenue, and just merging that experience so that consumers can be engaged right at the pump while they're fueling up with very personalized offers to bring them into the store. So I covered a lot, but I'd encourage all of you to reach out to us on our website or through LinkedIn. We're happy to walk you through a demo, show you more. slides are one thing. Seeing the actual product will help open discussions around how to fit this into your brand vision and your operations to ultimately engage your consumers and drive sales. So
Sean, if I had to reduce it, there's a lot of big concepts there for a non-tech savvy guy like myself and some of us that are on here. Where would be the simplest way to start going from where I am today, which is using zero AI and just using it as a buzzword, to ultimately getting to this agentic ecosystem that you're talking about?
Yeah, great question, Jed. I think it's scary to talk about these things and overwhelming, and there's so many things happening in the world, and we're constantly bombarded with buzzwords and topics. But I think it starts with just modernizing the tech stack. One needs to, ignoring even whether you may not even believe in this future, by the way, but it's coming one way or the other. But it starts with just being ready before you could do anything, right? So very simple example. During COVID, a lot of brands struggled standing up something as simple as curbside and buy online, pick up in store, because the tech took too long to implement some of these changes. So I think there are opportunities just by modernizing the tech stack to be nimble, flexible, etc. The key point underneath that modernizing statement is actually about a realization we have. Part of the reason we're thinking about POS first is that it's the focal point in store around 3 vectors that are critical for this AI future. And the vectors are the consumer, payment, and inventory. And if you can create a data platform to surface up that data in real time to applications that can then respond to it and interact with it in real time, then that's 95% of the battle. So key point, Jed, if nothing else, I'm giving a lot of detail here, but I think the key point is having a tech layer that is modern to allow you to then, when you're ready, think about these other elements and not have to re-architect and rejigger and add other point solutions to the mix as a patchwork in the future. And there's a real risk that this problem is going to create really even more siloed patchwork, that Dutch example of the dam I was giving early on, if we don't reimagine the infrastructure today. So key point is just modernize the tech stack. Think about data being the most important thing and being real time and two-way. So I should be able to surface data, and then I should be able to action on it in real time. That is a key point today. And then tomorrow, or in the near future, we can think about AI in very discrete terms in addition to that. And we can help you think about all of this. We have a ton of material on our website, on our LinkedIn page, and of course, we welcome an opportunity to chat with you all to discuss more of this. But yeah, I'd say starting point number 1 is just modernize the stack.
Yeah, build that foundation of the house, right? Get that foundation right, and then you can put the house on top of it, whatever that looks like. If it's a glass house or a wood house, yeah.
That's right. Jed, and in fact, in many ways, our mission here very early on was, how do we, and this is going to be a very provocative statement, but in many ways, our mission is to kill the point of sale, because the point of sale historically has been hampering innovation. It constrains innovation. At Punch, we did 65 POS integrations. And believe me, when I say it was problematic, each integration was difficult, very slow, very antiquated, 10 months, big SOW. And there's such a big opportunity just on the base level tech, even ignoring the next step about AI. So Yeah.
So killing that point of sale, which is an interesting just thought experiment as we dabble here in our last couple minutes. But instead of walking up as a consumer, swiping my payment or tapping, what would that look like in this agentic ecosystem that you're describing?
Yeah, I think first of all, the consumer should have flexibility to pay however they want, and interact through whatever channel they want. Our guess is that, you know, apps are at risk, frankly, today, because what agents do is they take over the front page of the internet. So instead of, I'll give you an example. My 10-year-old son, you know, his starting page on his browser. He just recently started middle school, and they've given him a laptop. It was fascinating. I was kind of observing it from the side, and his starting page is Perplexity. So it's no longer Google, and that change has already happened in his generation. He's 10, and so what that means is, you know, the way consumers interact is going to be now through an agent with the brand behind the agent. Being behind an agent. And so if the starting point has now shifted from a website to an agent, and that agent is now another consumer network we have to kind of navigate around, you know, a consumer's expectation is going to be to transact through there. And again, what I don't know, Jed, is what the future is going to hold. No one can predict, right? But what we do want is some tech that is flexible enough to accommodate whatever is going to happen. So one example is through this agent. The second could be that you interact through your mobile device, start your journey there, but with a simple tap, you transfer carts. But the other observation around, you know, what we see today in the ecosystem is that we are fundamentally replicating carts. So your mobile app may be a separate cart. Your in-store POS is a separate cart. When you pay at the pump, that's a separate cart. Self-checkout is a separate cart. And when I say separate cart, in many instances, it's a different company. So by definition, the data is disparate. And if you don't have an underlying view of where these transactions are and who the consumer is, you know, we're not going to be well prepped for this coming world. So.
A good comment, Sean. I appreciate the insight into what's to come.
Sorry, Jed.
Oh, I just said good comments, and thank you for the insights into what's to come in our industry and how we can get ahead of it. And partnering with people like Toad to are really smart in their field is, you know, one way that we can get there as well. So just to wrap up, I want to thank the audience for being on our webinar today. Again, the video and the slides will go out, as well as the contact information for our presenters. They enjoy talking, and if you got more questions and want to reach out to them directly, they would certainly welcome that to talk more. So thank you guys for being on the call. Just before you go, I'd like to remind you to check out our SG Voices website. Sean had mentioned an article that they'd written on there, and many others have educational articles on there as well as past webinars that we've done and other industry specific resources. When you sign off, there'll be a very quick survey. We want the education that we provide to be of good quality to you, so we always appreciate your feedback. It'll take you 2 seconds just to give us a heat check on the value that you found of this. So thank you for being a part of SG Voices. Have a wonderful day. I hope you're enjoying the spring that's out there, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.